Hello.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of What Catholic School Didn't Teach You, where we discuss the messiness and complexities. I was on a great streak.
I blame Trevor because he started barking.
Messiness and complexities of the Catholic faith and topics that we oftentimes avoid. My name is Katie.
And I'm Jillian.
How you doing, Jill?
Good. I can't believe that we're almost in October. Next
No.
week is October. That is wild. Spooky season.
Next week,
Yeah,
spooky season starts.
I know. And now that we're in a new house, in our old house, we never got trick-or-treaters because we were like in the very corner and there was like a school was next to us. So
Mm.
we were at the end of the block, so like nobody would want to walk all the way down. And I was just thinking about it this morning that we're gonna
Those are
have to
some
like
lazy
get candy.
trick-or-treaters.
I know. I would go to different
Commit to
towns
the
knowing
process.
find out where the big bars are. And like we weren't cheap. We were really ready to go. But no one wanted to come and hang out with us. But I feel like we're gonna get a lot because we're in such a cute neighborhood now. So we have to be, I need a costume. I have to
The
answer the
very
door
least, you got candy.
correct.
Look, the
Yes.
kids don't care if you're in a costume. They could give
Well, I care. I
two
got to come
nickels.
correct.
That's fair, but you gotta make sure you have candy and
Yeah, I
enough
have.
candy. I'd check in with
Yeah,
your neighbors. I'd get the lowdown from them.
that's true. Yeah, I need candy, and then Trevor needs to have a good
Well,
costume.
yes,
Maybe,
Trevor does need a costume.
well, he still has his lamb chop costume from last year, so
You gotta carve the pumpkins. You can't
yeah.
just leave those whole
Oh,
pumpkins sitting out there.
I love me some pumpkin. And Katie, were
Ridiculous.
you the one who sent to
Yeah,
our that pumpkin was pumpkin spice or like
pumpkin
pumpkin
spice.
spice
Yeah.
lattes or just pumpkin
Well,
spice in
not
general?
lattes, I don't think, but yes, Saint Hildegard of Bingen invented public pumpkin spice lattes and sold them to Starbucks. This was
Oh, knew it.
500 years ago.
Well, bless up to her for making pumpkin spice.
No, but she did invent or came up with pumpkin spice. So
Yeah.
she's credited as
She should be the patron saint of basic girls of me.
maybe she is
If she's not, I declare her as such.
doctor of the church, patron saint of basic chicks. Real spectrum she's on.
Yes. I'm sure it's such an honor for her. How are you, Katie?
I'm good. I'm tired. I'm ready for I feel like I'm fully in fall. We went to an orchard this past weekend.
Cute.
Took Kit to her first orchard and got some apples and like, we're in it. It's fall officially. I'm feeling good about it. I'm pretty happy about
I
it.
just wish the weather would stop being nice and then 93 degrees.
Oh,
Just pick one. Stay there. Yeah.
soon enough it's gonna pick one and you're not gonna like what it picks.
Either way, I don't like anything, so whatever. It's okay.
So we do have a topic for today, but before we do, I just want to touch briefly on the fact that if you're listening, and the fact that Jill and I are still here means I'm very sorry to us all, but we weren't raptured.
Apparently, I was living under a rock because I had no idea this was even happening.
This
So
is a
Katie
real
had to
thing.
inform me.
So I don't know, my mom probably doesn't know either. So mom, this is a real trend among the evangelical Christians is that the rapture was supposed to happen today, well, last night at sundown. So Tuesday, the 23rd, was
Any
supposed to
reason for
be.
that date?
I think it's because yesterday at sundown was the beginning of Rosh Hashanah, the Jewish
Ah,
holiday,
yes.
and they tie that somehow, the evangelical Christians tie that somehow with Rosh Hashanah. I don't know if it's like trumpets or what. If you don't know what the rapture is, it's, I hate to break it to you, not technically, talk about biblical or Christ-like, it's neither. Not technically a biblical idea. It's rooted in some one-off scripture passages, but it's not something that was taught. But it's a theology that describes the end times event where true Christians are suddenly raptured into the air to meet Jesus Christ. Their bodies are transformed into immortal bodies and they ascend into heaven. Like I said, it's rooted in some one-off biblical passage, but it's not, like I said, not something that was taught. It's not in the book of Revelation. It's not anywhere in the Gospels. It's not anywhere in the letters. Somebody called it on Instagram, somebody called it it's Christian fan fiction, which feels accurate. So it's supposed to be similar to Second Coming, which is actually a Christian or biblical, rooted in biblical beliefs and theology,
Hmm.
but it's not that. But it is that. It's a version of that. But everybody thought it was supposed to happen yesterday. And I'm not gonna lie to you, with the way the world was going, I was kind of like, all right. I was so passive about it. I was like, you know
Like
what?
there could be worse things.
Who am I at this point to judge something that brings anybody hope? If this is what's getting you through the day that you're about to be raptured, I'm gonna let it be. But fan fiction is the best way to put it, I think.
Unless there was a rapture and just none of us were taken.
I thought of that today. I was like,
Is that a
hmm,
possibility?
should I reach out to some people from my past and see if they're still here?
Hello?
I didn't leave the house today, so I guess I don't technically know if there are half, or not even half, true believers were the ones taken up. We're not the true believers, Jill. I'm very sorry to break it to you. Still here,
That's a bummer, I guess.
dedicated most of our lives and most of our
Here we
career,
are.
but
Not the true believers.
not the true ones. That ties into our topic for today.
Yeah, it does.
So today we're talking about what do you do with unanswered prayers? And this topic came up for me because my husband and I are house hunting. We
Which
found
is
this
not a task.
not a fun task. We found this house that we loved. We put in an offer. And I don't want to say I was cocky, but I was very confident. And we put in I feel good about the offer we put in. And I'm going to say my St. Joseph Novena. And I believe that that's a powerful intercession tool. I believe it's worked for me for things in the past. We're going to get it. And then we didn't. And I was left feeling like, oh, well, on to the next. I think so many people, when their prayers unanswered, that's just what you do. You pick up and you carry on. But what does that mean? What does it do to your faith when those prayers unanswered, especially when it's a prayer that's
Yes,
continuously unanswered
right,
or a prayer that may never be answered? What do you do with that? How do you bring that to God? How does that affect
right.
your relationship with
Hmm.
God? How does that affect your relationship with yourself?
Right. Because even just saying, okay, on to the next. Like, is it really though? Are you really just able to? I know you have to because you're trying to find a home,
Right.
but
And that's
is
just
it
silly in the greater scheme of this conversation.
right?
Silliest, most meaningless example, right?
But not at all. I think it's very relatable, and it's just even if it's on a smaller scale, still the whole premise of we are encouraged to go to God with the desires of our heart. You know, ask
Hmm.
and you shall receive. So we all prayed for it. We were like
You had a
the whole army was praying. And like I know that we're not entitled to just get the things we ask for,
hmm
but it's hard when it's something that you feel you really want, something that
hmm
you that knowing that if you were to receive, cause it would be a point of great joy bring to be brought to your life and a lot of good could be done through this thing. And not to say that you're suffering right now, but like other cases, maybe there's a lot of suffering involved
hmm
or pain or sadness or guilt or shame. Insert whatever heavy emotion and we do the things that we're told to do to be able to move forward and it doesn't happen. And the prayers, at least the way that we prayed them or we saw them unfold, go unanswered from
hmm
our perspective. How do you not lose faith? How do you
Yeah,
continue to trust in this sometimes very slow work of God?
right.
Trust in yourself that to not lean into the sometimes thought that maybe I didn't pray hard enough or that I did something wrong or that God doesn't think I could handle it
hmm
or so whatever we could tell ourselves that maybe may not be the most true but feels when we're already down and feeling in our feels that we can
hmm
tell ourselves these things that make things a little bit harder to sit with. There's just a lot that
And I think also, like I said, our response was, okay, pick ourselves off, on to the next. But then you can only say that to yourself so many times
right.
before it starts to lose meaning.
Yes.
And it's across the spectrum, whatever it is you're praying for and not getting.
Uh-huh.
And maybe it's not something, it's not even that you want this thing. I know this is meant, I know that I am meant for this. whatever
Hmm.
that is. And you keep telling yourself, well, the right one's out there, or that thing, that dream is still out there, or it's just not the right time. Timing's not
Uh-huh.
right. And it all in God's time, like you said, like slow work of
Right.
God. You could tell yourself that over and over and over again. You can tell yourself that for weeks, months, years before it starts to like, lose any meaning.
Right.
And you kind of just saying this thing because you're not supposed to lose faith.
Right.
But it's so easy and I think natural to lose faith. To be
Yeah.
like, why? I can't. I'm exhausted. I'm heartbroken. I'm whatever. I can't keep bringing this to you and feeling like I'm being let to fall,
Right.
right?
Hmm.
I'm falling flat on my face and it feels like God's not doing anything to help me pick myself back up. I'm the
Right.
one picking myself back up. I'm the one
Hmm.
going out there and fighting the fight and doing the thing. And the easy, cheesy answer would be like, but look around you. Look at all the people out there that are helping you. And that's absolutely true. Those are, I believe, in a lot of cases, those people are from God, whether those are the people helping
Yeah.
you with the financial side of things or helping you with the medical side of things or your friends and family who are there to support you and bolster you. And that's incredibly important to have your community surround you and help you keep going because you can't. You just, I don't even
Right.
know
Hmm.
how you would keep going, how I would keep going in times of
Hmm.
need without my community. But that's all great. And I'm still not getting the thing that I know I'm called for.
Hmm.
I feel deep in my heart is already part of my identity, and I'm not there yet.
Right.
It's not here yet. I don't even know. It's just so easy to be like, no, screw this, I'm done.
Absolutely. And it's hard, I think, in moments for me when I've experienced this. And I think what has helped me is to just, again, I know I've said this a lot of times on this pod, but I'm definitely a very firm believer in blunt, honest prayer. So not, and I think facing it,
Mm,
all emotion, if just to say that try to just swallow it and move forward is just going to cause, at least for me, resentment and anger.
hmm
But to name it in prayer and be like, look, this was a tough one to yet again. I'm being open with you. I'm telling you what I need is if my vision of your will for me is incorrect, then you need to show me what is because I keep chasing after what I feel is right and what I feel you're calling me to, but all I'm getting are closed doors. And there's only so many more doors I can try to run through before I completely lose stamina. So you need to show me what to do. I felt that a lot when I was job searching before finding this job. And it's hard because in the moment, it felt like very unanswered prayer, especially because leaving something that I thought I was going to be at forever. Like that was the prayer. Because there's also the flip side of this, of what happens when God answers your prayer, your biggest prayer, your biggest hope and dream, and it's not what you wanted it to be. And it's
mm,
not what you thought it was going to be. But it's like, well, you allowed this and it stunk. So clearly, I lost faith in myself to know what it is that I want. That it shook me so much because I was like, this is what I thought our shared goal was for my life, for my vocation. And this can't be it because I'm miserable.
hmm
So now what? And I spent what, 4 or 5 months at least, unemployed, confused, try like putting feelers out. And let me tell you, job searching also blows and also unfun and a lot of rejection. I think a lot of times when rejection's also involved in
hmm
the not, because it already feels like a rejection from God. But then when you're also rejected by the thing or the entity that you are going towards, whether that's the house or the job, or it could be a relationship or whatever, doctor, and you get rejected on that. So it's like a double rejection.
hmm
It hurts. And you lose faith not only in God, but also in yourself of figuring out, so do I even know what I want? What am I not seeing? What am I not doing? So it's just, it's a hard pill to swallow. But I have seen in my life when I have said, all right, you have to show me what's going on because I'm clearly off base. I am struggling to figure it out myself. So you need to open my eyes to something that I'm not seeing because
hmm
And I ended up finding a job that was the best thing that ever happened to me. But I needed those, it wasn't like I had to have that time because I was ready to walk away from ministry altogether. But realizing that that was not what I was being called to do, but I had to have to go through that time of self-doubt and also just putting it all out there, trying to go different avenues to figure out, no, this is what exactly what I wanted.
Hmm.
And it was way bigger and better than anything that I had thought of to begin with. And in the time, it's hard to think about that. But I was just talking about this today at work, that I don't see the answered prayer until later a lot of times. Yes, it's very hard to see that happening in real time
Hmm.
because sometimes the answered prayer is a not yet. Doesn't feel like it's
And
answered.
that stings.
Yes. The not yet's hard. They hurt. They hurt.
It's a smack.
It is. But I hope in a couple of months from now, we'll be sitting here and you'll be like, I found the perfect house and I understand why that one didn't work out.
Oh, yeah.
That doesn't
Well,
always
right now I
happen,
feel
though.
okay.
That's also not always the case.
Right.
Um, so
You know,
like it's,
no, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
no, it's okay.
We're sitting here talking this quote that I've really been holding on to lately. We're talking about how do you keep turning to God? How do you stay positive? How do you keep the faith alive? This quote that I've been holding on to last few weeks is from St. Augustine of Hippo, and he says, Hope has two beautiful daughters. Have you seen this?
No.
Hope has two beautiful daughters, courage, anger at the way
Mm.
things are, and courage to see that they do not have to remain as they are.
Oh, wow.
So I think about how do you keep moving forward? That's such obviously an act of extreme faith in
Mm-hmm.
yourself, in the process, in your God, but more so, it's an act of hope, and more than that, an act of courage. Like that takes
Yeah.
extreme to pick yourself back up and go back out there and say, we're gonna try again.
Yeah.
Anger and courage. And that the two go together, I think is such a beautiful idea that we're allowed to be angry at the situation. You're allowed to be angry at the fact that job hunting is brutal and cruel and so hard. You're allowed to be angry at the fact that you missed out on that house that you really thought you had. You're allowed to be angry at the medical results that came back in a way that you didn't want. You're allowed to be
Right.
angry at God for that, even. That's a good thing. Those emotions are God-given.
Right.
And this idea that anger is related to hope is so beautiful to me. That's sacred.
Right.
That anger that you feel, that disappointment that you feel is sacred, and it's okay to let yourself sit in it for a second. However, eventually, I hope you find the courage to keep at it, whatever that is. And like I
Yeah.
said, hindsight's 2020, and sometimes for me, sometimes I get so fed up and so done and so angry that I have to leave God out of it. And I know that that's not popular, and I know that
Mm.
not always the Christian thing to do, and maybe not even the right thing to do. But that's how I have to do it. And like you said, I look back and it's like, but God was always there.
Right.
God never left me. And that's the curse of being human, right? Is that we're flighty.
Right.
And I think God factors that in when we're going through the situations of they're gonna stray. They have to stray.
Right.
Sanity for their own to make themselves feel better. They're doing something.
Right.
Make themselves feel big and strong. They have
Right.
to stray. And then you look back and you think, oh, God never strayed. God,
Right.
I see them there.
And I love that you tied it back to hope because I am listening right now to Brene Brown's book, Atlas of the Heart. And the part that I was listening to on my way home from work today was about hope and the difference between hope and hopelessness.
Mm,
And where hopelessness comes in, she was saying how it's a big part of hope is setting realistic expectations.
mm,
Because when there is what hope, to have hope, there needs to be a goal that's attainable so you can have the hope to achieve that.
hmm.
When there's a situation where you see no attainable goal, that is where hopelessness is bred from. So I
Hmm.
think, I know we talked a little bit about this, I think, over the last couple of pods too, this idea of having realistic expectations. How expectations are the thief of joy.
Mm.
is really what I think. When you, or just where how you thought you pictured your life or what you thought you had to be or you whatever. But having realistic expectations about what it means to pray and what
Hmm.
the outcomes of our prayers could or should be, and the role that God plays in all of this.
Hmm.
I think it was last week that you brought the question of how involved is God in our day
Hmm.
to day? Is that we don't bother God with the smaller things, that it's like the big things that we go to God for. Like going with that premise, being, oh, do you hear Trevor? He's losing his mind right now. Sorry. Going along that premise, this idea of to have hope in God, having a realistic expectation of faith and what it can and can't do, I think is also really important
Hmm.
as well. I think I was saying last week, just like this idea of what I used to, my image of God used to be that God was going to just protect me from all of this. So when that was what I was expecting and these things kept happening, I lost hope and faith that that was even attainable. Or in my health situation, thinking that things were never, I lost hope because I didn't see that was even an attainable goal. I lost faith in that reality. So in turn, losing hope and faith. So how, I guess the other question would then be, how do you keep hope? That a realistic expectation, but then also if we tend to feel like I will never find the job, I'll never find the house, these end up becoming things that we end up feeling because they take so long or we're just not happening. How do we not lose hope or fall into hopelessness and start
Hmm.
to feel like the things that are for us are no longer attainable? Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think so. I like that idea. Setting, I could call my real estate agent tomorrow and say, hey, you got $3 million mansion on the lake that's for sale for 3 years. Let's put in an offer.
Right.
Let's really lowball them. And
$5
let's really lowball them. I'm going to pray on it and I'm going
plus
to get it
tax.
because I'm going to pray on it. And it's like, well, you're supposed to pray big prayers and also not to put limitations on God, but you do have
Right.
to set realistic expectations of how the world's going to operate.
Right.
Everybody in this situation has free will. So
Right.
they could
Yeah.
accept it. It's free will, but they
Right.
probably won't because it's free will.
And then also even just having expectations for ourselves as well of we're not perfect. We're not going to
Hmm.
respond to these things with, oh, thank you so much for not giving
Hmm.
me this house that I wanted so badly. Oh, thank you so much for making me quit my job on the fly because I just couldn't take it anymore. We're told to, be
We're not
grateful
gonna,
for the
yeah.
hard times. Sure. But like we're
In a
not
perfect world, sure.
right. To also be gentle with ourselves as well, that we're saying those being angry, all those emotions are important.
Hmm.
That to feel like we can't feel those, or that we have to continue to pray hard because that's the only way, that knowing that we too need to be realistic with what with our own
Hmm.
capacity. That recognizing that it's not because you didn't pray enough, it's not because you did something wrong, it's not because God doesn't love you, even though we can tell ourselves it could be a reason,
Hmm.
that there's a bigger picture that we're not seeing, but giving us ourselves the space to try to come to that realization ourselves in a way that I might process it might be different from the way that you process it, and both are valid and both are okay, but to give yourself the space to do that in a way that makes sense to you.
And accepting that is impossible. Accepting that we just may never know. Also,
Yeah,
you may never know why this thing didn't happen. You may never
right.
get clarity on that.
Mm-hmm.
Not in this life, at least. Accepting that is not something that comes naturally to human beings. We're
Right.
curious
Mm-hmm.
minds. We investigate. We like to play out the scenario and see the end
Yeah.
result and then fix the Rosario so that we get a different end result. And that's
Right.
not how life works. And accepting
Nope.
that is so incredibly painful.
Right.
There's something living either in our crawl space or just underneath our
No.
house.
You hear it?
Not anymore, it stopped.
Because you called it
Um,
out.
what was I gonna say? Something else that I was thinking about when when you said sometimes you get what you prayed for and it's not what you expected, or there's a little twistaroo in there that you were not expecting, right?
Twisteroo.
When our daughter was born, we obviously prayed so hard and so long for her. And to have a perfectly healthy pregnancy, and then things just went entirely wrong at her birth. And we ended up being in the hospital for a week with her, and it was kind of touch and go there for a minute. And that prayer was technically answered. I technically had a baby, and she is alive. I'm grateful for that. But there was a week there of me just being in survival mode of, we're talking about just anger of like, how could you let this happen? So it's not that one prayer was answered and then the rest of the prayers were, it seemed, completely unanswered. I can
Hmm.
look back now and say, look at everything's fine and look how beautiful and perfect she is and
Yeah.
smart and capable and everything's fine now. And it's so easy to do in hindsight. But in those moments, even in that first month of living in that survival mode, don't force yourself to be okay with the situation. We're talking about picking yourself up, having courage to move forward. Absolutely. Finding God in all things. Absolutely. But at no point should you be forcing yourself to do that. All of that needs to come in your time.
Right.
And which coincidentally, I believe your time is God's time in a lot of situations, especially a
Right.
situation like that where it sent you spiraling, you reeling. It was
Hmm.
not something you ever could have anticipated.
Right.
And sure, you could have prayed for it not to happen, but it probably, I don't know, maybe it still would have happened. And
Right.
that survival mode, I think, is very important. Don't force yourself to make meaning in those in while you're still in that adrenaline fueled state.
Right.
Sure, you can, and that meaning it probably will be something you hold on to forever. And also you have to let yourself heal a little bit before you move on.
I truly think too that God is not separate from that whole experience.
Right.
That ultimately you getting the strength to be in that mode came from God.
Mm-hmm.
Even if we weren't attributing it to God at the time,
Mm.
our strength to persevere, our strength to keep going and not give up, even if we're not avidly saying to God that that's what's happening,
Mm-hmm.
I think that's where it all comes from. All the years of build up of our
Mm.
faith come, we put our money where our mouth is at that point.
Sure.
Even when we're not explicitly saying it out loud, that's where it comes from.
You were saying earlier, or last, or a couple weeks ago when we were talking about what does it mean to have a relationship with Christ?
Right.
What does it mean to have a relationship with God? In those moments,
Hmm.
that's when it shines through and you don't even know it's happening.
Right. Hmm.
Absolutely.
That's good.
Anything else?
No, I could end with a prayer for Padre Pio since it's so we can still.
Give me a shout out.
He's big on miracles and prayer.
Well, there you go. It all ties together in the end.
Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, one of his favorite prayers was to the Sacred Heart, so we can do that one.
Perfect.
A short, short.
All right, well, it was a little bit of a quickie episode this week, but back next week. So make sure you listen. Hey, if you have a moment, please rate, review, and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. For those who are curious, it's not for our egos, although it helps. It's more so that people can find us, gets our
Yeah.
name out there. Um, People search, for spirituality or religious podcasts, just helps us pop up so people can find us. Apple Podcasts. Make sure you follow us at What Catholic School Didn't Teach You _pod and send us an email at catholicschoolguilt@gmail.com. You have ideas, you have topics, you have questions, send them our way. We have not answers, but something similar to them. Uh, Theories. What's the word I'm looking for? That was going to be such a good joke. Postulations, is that a word?
Postulant?
Postulations.
Oh.
Answers. We don't have answers. We have something similar. Let me redo that. We don't have answers, but we have something similar. Complete guesses. So send them our way. And to close this out, Jillian is going to read us a very special prayer. You want to explain it, Jill?
I do. So today, as we recording, is the feast day of Saint Padre Pio, and he is a wonderful saint. Um, he has been associated with a lot of miracles, which I think is a really well with what our topic is going with today. And one of his favorite prayers was the prayer to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. So that's the one that I am going to read for us today.
Yay.
for our closing prayer. So, in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, amen. O Sacred Heart of Jesus, filled with infinite love, broken by my ingratitude, yet loving me still, accept the consecration that I make to you of all that I am and all that I have. Take every faculty of my body and soul and draw me day by day nearer and nearer to your Sacred Heart. And there, as I can understand the lesson, teach me your blessed ways. Amen.
Amen. Thank you all for joining us today. We hope you have a wonderful week and weekend.
Yes, make good choices.
All right, team. See you next week.
Bye.
Bye.